Hello there, welcome to my channel, Katie's Empathy, in the series, Powerful Feminine Energy Unleashed. I'd like to take the first portion of this video to thank my viewers and those of you who have been watching and subscribing and liking and commenting. I appreciate you all so much. I'm so grateful for you and just happy to be here and happy to be making these videos. Now, the reading that I'm about to do is going to be for July the 11th. Now, some of you may have noticed that I didn't post a video for July the 10th. And, I really was just feeling like I needed a rest. I have been very stimulated over the past week with this series, which has been super awesome, and I had some good friends come in, doing a lot of work, so just a lot of blessings coming in, a lot of communication happening, and I really just needed a moment to gather myself. So if you're looking for a message for July the 10th, I would just like to say sometimes a little bit of rest is the best thing that you can possibly get. And we're not always going to be getting grand messages from the universe or learning divine meanings and learning about divine prophets and healing major blockages in our life. If every day were like that, my goodness, we would be exhausted, wouldn't we? So, just take a moment to pause and to rest. And if you haven't done that yet, I encourage you to do so, or if you haven't done that in a while. I think right now is a great time to sit back, relax, try not to react over things too much or get too wound up. Just let things happen, and after all of this crazy planetary stuff is done, then kind of let the dust settle and keep moving forward. So that's kind of where I'm at right now anyways. And so of course I'll still be doing these readings, and I hope you'll still be watching, but just a little reminder just to take a break when you need it and get some rest. All right, so let's go ahead and do the reading for July the 11th. All right. I call upon my higher self and the higher self of my viewers. I ask Divine Feminine and Goddess Energy to be here with us today, so that we may receive messages that are very perfect for us in this moment, in the moment that anyone is watching, that anyone who watches will receive the message that they need to hear. Thank you for being here. What kind of guidance do we need on July the 11th? What does the Divine Feminine have for us? Alright, this one's kind of popping out at me. I like this one. Inanna, the Queen of Heaven and Earth. I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. This card is beautiful. Let me just show it to you. Inanna. Isn't that beautiful? Gorgeous. All right, so let's look up Inanna in the book. Inanna represents the power that comes back to us when we accept and integrate our shadow. Inanna was the most prominent female deity in ancient Mesopotamia. At the height of her worship around the Uruk period of 4000 to 2000 BC. Temples and shrines dedicated to Inanna line the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Her name is Sumerian for Lady of Heaven. Her temples housed her priestesses, and they each would take a man to bed with them on the spring equinox to reenact the divine marriage, or hieros between Inanna and her consort, Dumuzi. The hieros is an ancient ritual of uniting the opposites from within, the male and the female, the light and the dark, and most especially heaven and earth. This theme occurs in accounts of Inanna's descent into the underworld to find her sister, Ereshkigal. She must take off an article of clothing at each of the 7 gates so that when she finally reaches her sister, she is naked. And when Inanna ascends, she does so with Ereshkigal's power. Wow. I love that about uniting the opposites within. The hieros, the ritual. You know, I think balance is, you know, can be a huge thing. I think it's so easy. We kind of sometimes find ourselves on this roller coaster of, you know, darkness, and then pulling ourselves out of it for just long enough, but then going back down. And in some ways that is the natural flow of things. But I think it's so important to realize that, you know, the ups and the downs in our lives are all there working to make us the person we are, and they bring balance to us. You know, if we didn't have moments of low points, you know, oftentimes that's where we find ourselves, you know. And I think the term that, you know, it'll only get as good as it gets bad, or something like that. I think there's several ways of saying it, but you know what I'm saying. And again, you know, finding balance between heaven and earth, between the divine and the physical, the masculine and the feminine, you know, that yin and yang. When your soul selects her card, Inanna goes into the depths of her own unconscious to merge with her twin sister self. She becomes more powerful because she is no longer using conscious psychic energy to keep her shadow or negative attributes hidden deep underground. She courageously descends and faces the aspects of herself that are hard to get to when she's fully dressed or cloaked heavily in the ego. So I love the metaphor here for clothing being something that covers up our ego, that covers up our true self. I'm a Leo, and so I know what it's like to have a really big ego and to try to cover it up or try to make it look like I don't do anything wrong, or, you know, just try to have this really good image, you know. And I think it's so important to become vulnerable, to take off those layers sometimes so that you can really express yourself fully. Inanna is an invitation to get naked. She wants us to drop our defenses. She wants us to see how holy and sacred it is to be vulnerable. As above, so below. This is an alchemical adage that suggests heaven and earth are not so separate. It suggests that within us, deep down in the dark cages where we place parts of ourselves, the truth that exists there also exists right here on the surface of our everyday lives. So if we are exerting great amounts of energy to keep from seeing our shadow, it is actually playing a large role in our conscious life. Yeah, and that's kind of like the message that I was, giving before I started the reading. You know, sometimes we can just constantly be in, it's easy to try to just stay upbeat constantly so that we can hide behind that bubbliness, hide behind that facade. Um, and I think that happens more in the spiritual community than anywhere. So yeah, just take off your clothes, like shed some layers, be vulnerable, and sit with it, even if it's just with yourself, and rest. When we can face what we think is dark or negative about us, really embrace it and see it for what it is, a beautiful broken place that's a call for love, then we can emerge more whole. That is a powerful message right there. To be able to truly see all those dirty, gross, icky parts of yourself and to see it as a place where you just need to love yourself more, a place where you need to take care of yourself more. It's life-changing. We can marry the light and dark aspects of our being, and in uniting with our own twin sister from the depths, we can stop projecting her onto other women. Don't we do that a lot of times? Don't we kind of look at other people and kind of like turn our nose up? Like, oh, that person just irks me. You're like, we think that a lot of times, and we can even get gossipy about it. But what would it mean to stop and think about how whatever is making you feel some sort of way, that's actually something in yourself. It really has nothing to do with the other person. Our emotions are here to teach us, and our reactions are here to teach us. So when we come across someone and we're really bothered by them, is it really them who are bothering us? Or is it our own selves, something that we don't like about ourselves that we're trying to hide? We can see and own the hot mess we often are and not get sabotaged by it. The light must cast a shadow, and the high priestess is the one who gets called to love them both. So Inanna is asking you to become vulnerable. And it's not the kind of vulnerability that is taking risk with other people or outside of yourself. I feel like she's asking you to be vulnerable with you. Something that used to help me a lot and that still helps me when I really feel some sort of way about myself is I will just sit in front of a mirror and I will look in it. And when you start to feel your mind, we're hardest on ourselves most of the time. Most of us are. But when you look in the mirror, when you just sit there and meditate at the image of you, if you want to be naked, that can be, a lot of us are not comfortable seeing what's in the mirror. However you're comfortable with, though, if you want to start, but just look at yourself. And when you start to feel those thoughts pop up, those things that are just like You just start jabbing at yourself, you know, like, ugh, this and ugh, that and ugh, you know. Stop yourself and look at that. Look at those things that you're thinking and think, are these things really things that I'm disgusted with? Or is it somewhere in myself that I just need to pour more love into? Am I feeling insecure about, you know, my nose being like oddly shaped? Do I need to just accept it and accept the beauty? Am I feeling insecure about something I said yesterday to somebody that, you know, caused an awkward moment and I'm still beating myself up over it? Can I let it go? Can I look at that awkward moment and think, you know, that happened because it needed to teach me how to move forward, and now I can take that as a lesson instead of beating myself up for it. Can I look at that as a moment of truth, a teaching moment? Her soul voice meditation is, can I love my shadow as much as my light? Can I love my shadow as much as my light? You know, we probably know the things about us that are nice, so we probably work really hard to try to extenuate those things, you know, to uplift those things. Sometimes we only want people to see those things about us that are really nice. Can we start to get comfortable with the icky parts of ourselves, with the parts of ourselves that we don't like so much? Yeah, I think that's a super healing and super awesome thing to do. And you can do it in little baby steps. You can, you know, just little steps is all you need, you know. How can you love yourself more today? How can you love the dark side of yourself more? I think something else that's kind of coming to me right now is, I think a lot of problems that we see in the world today are a result of people and society as a whole trying to hide its dark parts, its yucky areas. You know, there's so many things I could talk about as an example of that, but just because it's on my mind, I watched a video earlier, and I can actually put it in the comment in the description box below. But it was about the makeup industry and how they use child mining for labor, right? But how often do you really hear about those kind of things? You know, think of all the things that we consume and some of the practices behind it, and they're really dark. And right now, society is in a place where we're starting to become aware, but it's hard for us to talk about certain things, you know, because it's icky and we don't always know what to do about it. And so we have this avoidance of what's there. But it doesn't take it away. You know, ignoring things doesn't take it away. It just causes it to get bigger until eventually, you know, it bursts out, you know. And that's what happens within ourselves when we ignore things in ourselves that are that we don't like or that are gross to us, you know. We hold that in, we hide it, but eventually it will come out, and it comes out in negative ways. So, you know, learn to find those parts in yourself that you don't like, and learn to use those things in yourself as a positive, you know, as a way to grow and heal, and as a way to, you know, channel something better. You know, if you have anger issues, channel that energy and that passion into something creative. You know, if you are feeling gross about your body, take a minute to love your body, for one, because you're beautiful. And what can you do to feel better about your body? Can you wear different clothes? Can you work out more, or can you just accept it, you know? We all have things. We all have a shadow. There's no getting around it. And some things, God bless it, no matter how hard you try, it will just stick around. So what are you going to do with those parts of yourself? I have nothing to hide. I see and accept all that I am. I see and accept all that I am. Acceptance. All right, so that was my reading for today. Let me just show you this card one more time. It's really beautiful. Yeah, so if you would like a personal reading, I do offer those, and I really enjoy giving them. Just check out the description box and find my information. Let me know. Yeah, and I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day.